Blast ahoy and g'day once again to ye mateys. I be your toasty and warm host, Josh the Pirate, and I'm here to do a little bit more homebrewing, which is kind of exciting for my, how to even put this, what to even describe it as. I want to run a system in the Battletech universe. Hey Ardana, good to see you, my dear. And I want to... I want to build a system for that because there isn't a decent RPG system for it that I have found. Last week I took a look at the Mecha Hack, and it was pretty good. I actually quite liked it. It wasn't, and this sounds like a sort of a weird thing to have an issue with, but it wasn't as complicated as I want, basically. But it did have some interesting things, and I actually think it had quite a good overheat mechanic, which is one of the core mechanics that I do want to have in the driving the giant battle robots element of the game. So I suppose it's not a bad place to start. The beginning is the best place to begin. Yes, I should probably introduce myself. I am Josh the Pirate. You can find me here on my channel, Corsair's Cove, with my lovely lady wife, which we run here, but you've already done that, so thanks for doing that. Good job, keep doing it. I also wanted to say, seeing as Ardana is here, Ardana, I wanted to tell you, I had an absolute ball playing with you on Friday night. You and Terrace were just a lovely game. It was really nice characters, really nice people, really nice time. And I had a really, really smashing evening. It was really fun and I really enjoyed it. Guys, if you want a good D&D channel, go check out Ardana. It was a really cool little world. Really cool world. A lot of interesting lore. But what I loved the most is how easily you just accommodated the lore I brought in with me. You were like, yeah, that works. Boom, boom, boom. Fixed. Done. And I'm like, fucking love it. Yeah, flexible people are really cool. And flexibility in a DM is a really useful ability. So props to you there. Favorite moment after the fact. I mean, we did favorite moments anyway. I had many. But yes. Anywho, I suppose I should probably get into it. So that's who I am, I need to talk very briefly about the Ukrainian people. They are having a bit of a rough time right now, and if you want to check out the emergencyactionappeal.org.au, you can do that and consider donating maybe over there. That would help the people in Ukraine who are dealing with a really shitty time. If you follow the news at all, I'm a little disappointed, and it's one of the things I hate about modern media, is that it stopped being covered. When was the last time you saw media coverage about the Ukrainian war? It's still going on. People are dying every day. I mean, people die every day, but people are dying when they shouldn't be because of military adventurism. It's just not cool. But we're not even bothering to pay any attention anymore. It's so last month's news. There are newspapers about, the Queen's children are being problematic again. I'm like, when are they not? Stop giving me this bullshit headlines and keep telling me about the things that are important. So anyway, flexibility is important as a DM. If I can't be flexible, DMing would be very stressful. Yes, absolutely. Cannot agree more. Particularly with what's that? You want combat? No. We'll just go right past that. If you have any pennies rattling around your digital wallet, please consider chucking them that way. Ardana, also, I hope you're feeling better. You said you were dealing with a little bit of health issues at the moment, so I hope you're feeling better soon. Other things I need to mention. We do also need to mention Wooten Forge. We have a link for Wooten Forge, wootenforge.com/Corsairs Cove. If you head on over there, that is our affiliate link for Wooten Forge, and Wooten Forge create beautiful Australian, they're all handmade Australian tabletop gaming products made of exotic and Australian hardwoods. Very, very pretty stuff. You could get yourself a Dice Keeper or anything like that over there. It supports an Australian business, which is very important. WA is called the small business, the state of small businesses, and it's very, very true. More people work in small business or self-employed than work in businesses of over 50 people in WA. It's a big thing here. So yeah, supporting local business is really important. Yeah, probably just a cold. Walking around in the rain was likely not the smartest idea I've had of late. Yeah, but I imagine it was a nice refreshing change from your massive heat wave. Alrighty, well, let's get into it as I said before. So, let's get rid of that so you can see my face. That's not a very useful thing. How about that, though? Let's talk about this game that we're doing. So, low gravity tolerance is an interesting idea proposed by Tony Karlstrom there, meaning ships have to travel slower. Right, so let's talk about these. So I've got a list of mechanics I want to include. Evasion, heat buildup, armor. So let's talk heat buildup. The system that the Mecha Hack used was whenever you do the specific actions, push the reactor too hard, push it harder. So, and you have a reactor dice, dependent on the quality of your reactor, and that is the reactor's ability to handle difficult situations and strain, essentially. And there's a lot of things that can cause that. For example, taking the same action twice in your turn, you can get two actions per turn. But there are 4 different actions you can take. You can fire twice if you do that, or you can run twice, or do anything else twice. If you do that, however, you have to overclock your reactor to do it. Moving and firing is just a normal thing, so the reactor is designed to cope with that. So I think it's a neat little mechanic. Good idea, clever. So I want to have something like that. I think that's a good idea. So your mech's ability to cop heat is reflected by your reactor dice. And you roll your reactor dice, and if you roll a 1 on your reactor dice, you overheat, and your reactor degrades in capability. So the more hot you run, the more likely it is that you'll continue to run even hotter. There is an element of cock-up cascade, but the solution is to just not overclock your reactor, because don't want to do that anyway. It was really nice in the rain. Yeah. Oh my god, I love walking in the rain. Even in the middle of winter, I love walking in the rain. So I think something like that, but possibly with a little bit more redundancy built into it. And I also think that there would be an element of being able to add in extra heat sinks and the biome that you're fighting in, because all of these are actual mechanics in Battletech, the video game, the tactical game. It's to a lesser extent also true in MechWarrior. I haven't noticed it a huge amount in MechWarrior. When you're fighting in a cold climate, maybe you heat up less fast, but I can't say I've noticed it too much compared to in a desert. When I have noticed it is when I stood in a pond, and all of a sudden my heat just went away, and I was like, cool, I can just continue firing my PPCs. Hey, Kate! Could look at the stress mechanic from Blades in the Dark to look at repairs. Ooh, okay. That's another one to add to the list. I've got Goblin Go-Karts to have a look at as well. So we've had a look at... done. Mecha Hack done. So the stress mechanic from Blades in the Dark. Well... Blades in the Dark. Blades in the Dark. Evil Hat Productions. Blades in the Dark. Wikipedia is a tabletop fantasy role-playing game by John Harper, set in a fictional city of Doskov, inspired by Victorian London. Kate, could you explain that stress mechanic? Would that be possible? If you wouldn't mind explaining it. Rather than me having to go because it's not a cheapie. I can't just... I don't have $50 to just drop on something just out of mild curiosity, but I also don't want to be naughty and see if I can snag a... give me typing time. Yes, no worries. That would be great. If you could, that'd be awesome. Thank you. I love these suggestions, and it's why I'm doing this live. So, I suppose, the thing I'm doing... so, heat build-up, rip off Mecha Hack. hack. Reactor dice and actions that overclock the reactor. Cause a roll on the reactor. If a fail is reached, then the reactor dice is downgraded. This can obviously be repaired at a later time, but yeah. And I'm going to assume that the Mecha Hack people did playtest that mechanic quite a lot, because it seemed to me, reading the rules, that that would be occurring pretty regularly. Like, about half of the actions you can take, most of the interesting special shit, you roll your reactor dice. But because you can start, most mechs only start at a D6, which you downgrade to a D4, and when you fail on a D4, you overheat and you shut down. And you can deal with that for a while, but yeah. And I felt like it was just like, you get unlucky twice, and yeah. Like, you feel free while you've got a D6, but as soon as you drop to a D4, you be careful now. But I also think, like, mechs can cool down, so if you take cooldown time, yeah, you can repair your reactor, you can... Possibly we could have something like how hot the mech is allows it to do a certain number of things. Each action generates heat. And yeah, your actions are actually limited by your heat. So your action economy is actually dictated by how hot your mech can run. And then you can mod your mech to be really good at heat management, but you would have to sacrifice other things, like firepower, to do that, because heat sinks are quite heavy. But whether or not that's too complicated, or is that actually a simpler mechanic? Because that's the thing, I'm trying for simplicity. I'm going to put a solid potentially. And there's no reason we can't do both, but again, that's more complex. Also, see what... You could add something similar to haste, call it overclock. You can push your mech to its limit for a short time, but afterwards you suffer some serious consequence. I like that. I do like that. Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's called overriding the safeties. Yeah. Safety override. Lot of stress on the reactor. Yeah, alright. I like that. So, let's say, I suppose we need to, like, this is the thing, it's so much, there's a story that my mum used to read me, it's a kid's story, about a guy who got stranded on a desert island. And he was sitting on the beach, he's like, okay, well, this is fine. I know how to make loads of stuff. Like, I'll be fine. I can make myself... And he goes like, I need some shoes, so I'll need that. So I'll need to make some shoes. But to make them, I'm going to need to make laces. And for that, I'll need rope. So, of course, I'll have to figure out how to make some rope. And to make some rope, I'm obviously going to need some scissors to cut the vines down to make the rope out of. And for scissors, I'm going to have to mine some metal. So, okay, so I've got to do that. And it comes all the way... And he basically... It's chicken and egg the entire way. And he basically just sits on a beach for a day and just like, I don't know... He just can't figure out where to start. And I'm feeling a little like that. Anyway, Kate O'Sullivan says, okay, so, Blades. Player characters in Blades of the Dark have a special reserve called Stress. When they suffer a consequence that they don't want to accept, they can take a stress instead. The result of the resistance roll determines how much stress it costs to avoid a bad outcome, like resisting through overclocking. Right. I like that. That's cool. That is a really good protection from Cock-Up Cascade. Which is, yeah, I've played a couple of systems which I really didn't like for that reason. Pushing yourself, you can also use stress to push yourself for greater performance. For each bonus you choose below, take 2 stress. Each can be chosen through the given once for a given action. Bonuses, things like adding a dice to your roll, etc. Ah, cool. Yeah, I almost think that's the same. I think we're coming at this from 2 different actions, and this is basically a safety override. When a PC marks off their last stress box, they suffer a level of trauma. When you take trauma, circle one of your trauma conditions like cold, reckless, unstable. They're all described below. When you suffer trauma, you're taken out of action. You're left for dead or otherwise dropped out of the current conflict, only to come back later, shaken and drained. When you return, you have 0 stress, and your vice has been satisfied for the next downtime. Trauma conditions are permanent. Woo. So yeah, there needs to be some heavy duty, like, this needs to be something they can't just abuse the shit out of. I like that. It can't be any of that buying a dice like Brendan and I did. Buy more dice. That's very cool. Thanks, Kate. Send you a link separately. Oh, good on you. Cool. Thank you very much. So that's very cool, and I'm definitely going to have stress. Stress mechanic. Let's pop it in mechanics to include stress for overclocking either mechs or people. Safety override is like haste for a mech and requires a cooldown very much like haste then the after, or you suffer big negatives. Potential ammo explosion, overheating. I mean, the big danger actually for overheating is the pilot burns. Salt and Battery, hey Josh, working on the new Homebrew mech game? Yes, I am, Salt and Battery. How are you? This is sort of, it's still fairly early stage, but the trick is I'm using D&D 5e as a framework, so it's not too much of a massive thing. Last week not last week, the week before, we came up with basically, and Augustus Frogbottom points out, and he may well be right, that I may well just have to start from scratch, particularly with fighter classes, and make up like 8 new ones of my own. But what we think we're going to do so far is, limit the number of classes, but it's functionally, you're allowed to play anything D&D. I would even be open to race classes, or the races as well, within limit, like, but you would look like a person. You would look like a human. I wouldn't be up for Warforged. But even then, like, I know for a fact that it is canon in universe that they do augmentative limb replacement, stuff like that, with the muscles that power mechs. They're called myoma, and it's this really, it's a substance that when you pump electricity into it, it gets stronger. The more power you put in, the stronger it gets. Nice. I've been busy with my campaign, so I've missed your streams. I'm limiting classes. Yeah, limiting classes is a good idea. Most of the complications will come from the mechs. Exactly. We've decided no Bard Pally, druid, sorcerer, or warlock. Interestingly, and it only occurred to me well after the fact, we basically just dropped all the charisma class casters and druids. And I'm like, that's weird. I mean, it makes a certain kind of sense, because people who use their personality for magic, that's something you can't really explain away as, like, technology, which is the premise. Whereas we've decided Artificer and Wizard, as long as you can make the argument, like, we would maybe be limiting the spell list a little bit, but even then, not necessarily too much. Like, a wizard would basically be just somebody wandering around with a big gun, and you just need to be able to justify your spell in the context of the universe. So you just have a web, a bandolier of grenades, fireball, you know? It's hard to seduce a dragon in a tin can. Well, quite. I've seen a paladin do it, and So, can you explain the mech crunchiness? Mech crunchiness. What did we say about... Oh, it's on the thing, didn't it? Mech crunchiness. I suppose... Add to... A dotlin. That's my guess. That's my best bet. Mech crunchiness, basically, that was sort of things that we want to keep in the game. Things that the goals for what we were trying to achieve. And the... mech crunchiness is what somebody in chat said, and I thought it was quite good. Basically, just how when you want to feel like you're driving something big and slow, and crunchy. You know, when you stand on something, you feel a thump. And that's, I suppose, what was meant by that. The feeling that it's a tech dark age as well. That whilst it is futuristic. They have interstellar space travel. They have giant walking tanks. But actually, they're in a massive technological recession, and they don't know how to do a lot of the things that their ancestors did. And it's actually, new technology is just not being made. They're struggling to maintain what they've already got. Bits breaking off, absolutely. Limbs and such do get lost, and when you lose a limb, yeah, if an opponent targets a particular area, shit gets real. And I'm going to be interested to see, like... That will be obviously something, because target scatter, one of the things I wanted to focus on, or one of the mechanics I wanted to include, was armor and locational damage. Because if you aim for a specific place, you might not hit it, and if you aim center mass, it'll probably scatter, and you'll still probably hit. Mechs are quite big targets. It is really difficult to miss the side of the broad side of a barn door. And like an hour ago, I was playing MechWarrior 5. So, and I'm still really enjoying it. It's quite a nice chill thing to do now that I'm good at it. It took me ages to sort of get my head around it, because the legs, because you're not playing a first-person shooter, is the main trick. You are playing driving a giant tank on legs. So, where normally you can strafe very easily, in MechWarrior, it's forwards and backwards on the left thumbstick, control your accelerator and brake. Left and right, control the direction the legs are pointing. And it fucks with your head. So a bit like World War II tank crews. They're making repairs and changes in the field with bugger-all instructions at some points due to high crew member turnover. Exactly, yeah. To the point where, it takes several days, weeks to replace bits on a tank or on a mech. This canon piece of lore in the universe I adore is that it is basically it's so incredibly frowned upon to destroy spaceships. Not dropships exactly. So there are two major kinds of dropship. There are ships in the universe. There is dropships, and there are called jump ships. Jump ships are for traveling at faster than light speeds. They literally jump from one place to another instantaneously. The max range is about 30 light years, and they're solar powered. So they have to jump from sun to sun to sun. They can't recharge in deep space. They jump, then they deploy a massive solar sail and collect the solar energy over it takes about 8 days to recharge one. So they're going to want to jump in pretty close to the sun. Also, gravitational fields and all that junk. It's pretty junk science, but it makes sense in universe. So there's only a couple of spots where it's gravitationally okay. Basically, the sun's poles away you can jump in safely. And then there are dropships to take you from the jump ship to the planet. And destroying jump ships is extremely frowned upon, to the point where just no one does it. It's extremely poor. As if you get caught doing it, whole nations will just turn and hunt you. Because it's just like the whole inner sphere, which is the majority of the settled worlds, only builds about a dozen a year. There just isn't very many people who know how to do it anymore. My grandfather talked about using parts from a tractor to limp their half-track back. He said they thought they were going to be heard in Berlin. Amazing. I love some of these stories from that. Have you heard of the Fading Suns? Its canon is similar. They have tech, however, they are in decline in the church-run society, and they try to ban tech. Might give you a few ideas. Dotlin, yeah, I mean, how familiar are you with the Warhammer 40,000 universe? Where all tech is controlled by a theocracy. It was done for a very sensible reason. But in the same breath, religions are extremely good at maintaining the status quo. They are, by their very nature, conservative as all hell. So keeping what you've got, make it religious. And something similar was done in the Foundation saga by Isaac Asimov. Really neat idea. It's like, yeah, exactly, Sultan Battery. Yeah, it's like destroying a jump ship is like fouling an oasis in a desert. And there was one point where one interstellar nation tried to destroy a jump ship manufacturing facility, and they had war declarations being delivered to them from every other major interstellar polity. So just everyone was like, you fucking don't. You do not. We cannot afford to. That's one of the 5 left. You cannot do that. We will all have you for that. And they were like, okay, maybe we don't do that then. That's a wow. I'm like, Max, you're insane, buddy. But progressing technology forwards, don't rely on a religion to progress anything, to change anything, because they just don't want it. That's not the point of them. And it's not even saying anything bad about religion. There's plenty of very laudable things about religion. But organized religion is not a progressive place. If you're looking for innovation, don't go to religion. Unless you want a new religion. But even then, it'll just be a variation on the old one. Progression is not what you want there. The Martian theocracy, I guess, in 40k is a very similar vibe of Dotlin. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not looking so much for advice on. We're not homebrewing a universe. The universe is extremely well established. This is the thing, and I'm quite up on the lore, particularly up to about the 2900s. There is an awful lot of fiction and an awful lot of source books and stuff like that, of which I have quite a bit. I've also played several of the games, and I've been playing the game since late 90s. I'm already imagining my players trying to jerry-rig heat sinks from thin sheets of metal or from a crash site. Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things in one of the games is it's a really cool piece of actual science, and I was like, I love seeing actual science done well. That your mechs overheat really badly in lunar and Martian style biomes. The reason being, they don't have very much in the way of atmosphere. Now, the mechs can function just fine without air. Though I would argue some of their weapons don't work super well. So is that the 40k universe? Sorry, I tuned in late. This isn't set in the 40k universe. It's just that it's my comment, Dotlin, was really just that there is a lot of overlap. It's quite a common theme done in sci-fi universes, and yeah. it's one of my favorite. More I find quite interesting about the 40k universe is it's the grim, dark, distant future where there is only war. 40,000 years in the future, we've gone everywhere, but we haven't really progressed very much at all. This is set, however, in the Battletech universe, which is by originally the Farsa Corporation. I made some of my players giggle like mad when I told them that the first builders of constructs in my D&D world were the Drow. I mean, no reason not. Hell yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, originally by the Farsa Corporation, but they folded because they had a massive legal battle with Gundam. Mostly because they stole a bunch of Gundam stuff. They lost it completely and they folded. Eventually, the property got picked up by Catalyst Game Labs, and Catalyst has created an RPG for the universe. But it doesn't overlap very well. You can't really use it to pilot mechs. It does, however, have a companion board game for mech combat, and essentially the idea is you just tune into the board game, the tabletop board game, for that. Not a bad idea in and of itself, and in fairness, it's essentially what D&D does, but within D&D, the mechanics are fully integrated. So that's more what I want to do, because I favor theater of the mind anyway. Also, tabletop, we're going to be playing it online, so I would have to have a VTT that I would have to build, or at least modify something like Roll20 to be able to... I mean, it's hex-based is partially the issue, but I just didn't want to have to do that. I prefer theater of the mind, and I just don't think that a tabletop is the right way to experience I think you have to do it in your head canon. I think you have to do it in your mind. And we'll use a map. We'll probably have to use a map just for precision. But, yeah, I think it would be way more interesting to build a new one. Also, I had a look at this RPG system, and it's very convoluted. It's really not user-friendly. I YouTubed a couple of how to build characters and how that works, and they tried, but they could not explain it in a way that I could get my head around it. I sat here for 2.5 hours trying to figure that out on the very first Tactics Tyrsday, and it just didn't come up. And I'm like, look, I tried. Why did they giggle? Are your drow normally comedians? Nice. So, that's what we're doing there. That's that. So, stress for overclocking either mech or people. I like that idea a lot. I need to summarize Kate's stress mechanics, so I expect she'll send it to me later. Basically, take a point of stress to change an outcome. It works sort of like a minor hero point, I guess. But when used up, bad stuff happens. Also, and this is something I'm going to tag onto it. Also, there is an RP element to it, so they have to sacrifice something to make this work. Character full. Like / trauma inducing. To make this work. So they have to pay for it. I have sent you things via Facebook. Oh. Kate Leslie. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Blades deets for reading later. Thank you very much, my dear. What vices are about. Indulging your vice is basically a way to relieve stress in Blaze. Ah, cool. I love that. Love that a lot. I'm just going to very, very quickly, because I really want to know. View profile. Where do I... Kate, it's been bugging me for a while. Where do I know you from? It's theatre, obviously. Was it GNS? Is that where we met? We both know Jess Mess. And Brendan Ellis. Midnight. Oh shit, really? Wow. Amazing. Hilarious. Because I'm like, I know that face. Why do I know that face? That's so cool. I'm really glad that this, like, because I haven't worked with Midnight in years. That's very, very cool. All right, back to the thing. Adana. Now, one of them plays a halfling artificer, and then I told them that the drow invented construct, and they went, wait, not gnomes or halflings? And started giggling at the idea of construct birds in the Underdark. That's cute. I like that. Yeah, I used D&D Beyond for my first Homebrew Far Future version, and just populated the add new skills for my system. Worked a treat. I had stress levels when they encountered xenomorphs, etc. Sounds similar to what you're talking about. The collective gasps when someone took a stress level was so much fun. Yeah, I bet. I prefer Theatre of the Mind as well, but I have players with aphantasia, so I tend to use loads of maps. Oh, okay. Aphantasia. Is that like an inability to see stuff in your mind? My dad has that. My dad has no visual imagination at all. And I was like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, I don't see pictures in my head. So, and he can't remember people's faces. So he remembers a verbal description of you when he meets you. He just memorizes a verbal description. Oh, yes, okay, cool. I didn't know that that's what it was called. I didn't know it had a name. Yeah, my dad does that. And either he's just really easygoing about it and just asked me where he's standing at any one point. But yeah, he'd never struggled with Theatre of the Mind. That being said, when I was DMing for him, I did usually use a map because I just had a whiteboard and we were sitting around a table. It was easy. But, you know, I can just scribble on a whiteboard. I can't do that on the internet. Anyway, yeah. Alrighty. I like that stress mechanic a lot. To make this work. More lasting effects from major injury, like lowered max HP, which recovers over several days. Yes, that. I think it's... Yeah. The trick is... Alright. So, heat build-up. Potentially rip off a mecha hack. Safety override. Yes, yes, yes. What else do we want to look at? Armor and locational damage. How do I approach locational damage, chat? Aphantasia is the inability to picture abstract concepts as pictures. Yes, so if I describe a mountain range, they can't picture it if I don't add a photo or a drawing or something. Okay, we're right. Fair. So, what do we do with locational damage? Locational damage. Because my thinking on this one is a little bit like a scatter dice. And, well, you just sort of number the locations 1 to 8 and you roll a d8 and see where they hit. If they're not being specific. But why wouldn't you be specific? Is the trick. But I think it would have to be like, it makes the target significantly harder to hit. So I want sort of orders of magnitude of success for an attack roll. So say you roll a d, you need an 18 to hit the part you're actually aiming at, but you only roll a 16, so you'll still hit. Roll a d100. Exclamation mark. Hey, Black Angel, good to see you. We're talking about homebrewing a new thing. We also don't need the D. I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody else. Roll space 100. And actually, Omi got it yesterday. Like in the PC game, I guess I'd say give more number weight to center mass. if they're not specific, or using a scatter-based weapon. Yeah, 57's pretty close. Center mass versus specific, sliding scale of difficulty depending on size of target. Yeah, all of that sounds good. All of this sounds good. Well, how many locations have you got? You have center torso, left and right torso, arms, that's 5. Head, 2 legs, that's 8. So what if we said... Because I would give less weight to head as well. Particularly on certain mechs, like the design of the mech would come into account, because some mechs have a really wide side profile and a very narrow front profile. Some are particularly difficult to hit. Evasion is definitely going to be something we keep. Yeah. Sliding scale of difficulty depending on size of target, I think, is a good idea. So I think bake it into the statistics of a particular mech. Each vehicle, it's the AC. What am I talking about? Essentially it's the AC. That is how each vehicle, the difficulty to hit, the base difficulty to hit. Difficulty to hit, and partially AC is due to Dex, which is your dodging ability. So your next point of complication would be different to hit number, weights for head and side-on shots. The AC increases if you're hitting a smaller target, but say 3 based on scale. Yeah. So bake into the stats of each vehicle the base difficulty to hit, AC, but then add targeting specific. Wow, I can't spell. Getting specific places increases. And missing, but still being within the base AC. Or should we have different ACs for different aspects? So if you're side on, it's a different AC. That would actually make sense because mechs have weaker armor in the rear more often than not. The AC increases if you're hitting a smaller target. Yeah. But still being being within the base AC. The shot scatters. Roll a d10, we say. Well, if it's just scatter, then it can't hit the thing you're aiming at. So we say it's d8. If it was me, I'd limit the models to like 3 sections for the first session. Otherwise, you're going to be playing this sometime next year. Of various, yeah. Well, I suppose what I'll probably do is only build them as I need them. In terms of like, I assume you're talking about the mechs. So I'm only going to build the mechs as we require them. So I will build the first. There will be 4 pilots. I'll probably all have 4 different kinds of mechs. Maybe 2 of them will have the same kind of mech. And then there will be some enemy mechs. So yeah, I agree completely. Though I'm okay with this taking a while. The base level of the game, I want to give it a first test swing. So it's really just working out these mechanics and what hasn't been done, what needs to be done. So roll a d10, we say. And then I guess, if the shot scatters, then you get lucky. Maybe you hit the thing you were aiming at anyway. So roll a d10. And 1 is left leg. 2 is right leg. 3 to 5 is center torso. Because there is no weight on the D10, it could be any, it doesn't really matter, is center torso. And if you've got a really high aiming ability, then yeah, you're able to snipe the limbs off particular things. I think I would also, that I would like to have a aiming penalty for, we were talking about recoil, for weapons that have like, autocannons, which have massive recoil. So if you fire that repeatedly, the recoil makes shooting everything else quite a bit harder. So I think that's where the main like complexity of driving mechs is going to come from, is the targeting. But that's the big thing of what you're doing anyway. Center torso would be that. Then 6 is left torso. 7 is right torso. 8 is left arm. 9 is right arm. And 10 is head. Yeah. Recoil must be a thing for what an autocannon would do while firing. Yeah, and also because it has to modify for autocannons, because autocannons are the biggest damage weapons in the game. They do as much damage as lasers that weigh more. Way more than lasers do as much damage, but don't generate anywhere near as much heat, and therefore are easier to continually fire, but harder to aim whilst doing that. So yeah, the scattershot rule's fairly simple. You just need a chart. But that's okay, we can have a chart. And yeah, 3 to 5 hits the center torso, just because it's the largest part of the mech. The only reason to not have it hit center torso is because whilst that would have the most armor on it, it also contains the engine. If you break the center torso, the mech dies. And if they just, well, just scatter and just core the mech. I'm enjoying recalling too many years playing MechWarrior 1 through 4, yeah. Have you tried 5? It looks exactly the same as online, as MechWarrior Online, so it's yeah, I don't think it's mechanically any different at all. You just don't have to play with other people if you don't want to. The campaign is very long, and it has an element of grind, but just because of how long it takes to get from one place to another. But at this point, I could probably just jump from story mission to story mission, because I've made over 30 million C-bills, and I have the highest tier rank mechs and pilots at this point, so I could just jump. But the story mission's so fucking spread out, it takes you like 3 months to get, as in game time, to get from one to another, if you travel direct. And I'm just like, it's just grind for no particularly good reason. And it's a little irritating. I'm like, you're padding your game, which is already fucking long. I've comfortably dropped 40 hours into it already. Alright, so that's locational damage. AC, so base AC to hit. I don't think we should change the AC of the front and side and rear, because that's covered in the amount of armor they all have. Each location would also have different amounts of armor. Would have to. I'm sorry, word, I spell things the English way, usually with a U. I'm getting bored of the meditation music. It's nice, but maybe we have Inner Forest instead. Love it. Peaceful morning. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Rise of the Sky Whales? What's that like? Sure. That's fun. Are you going to have joint shots, shoots with disadvantage to impair movement on the limb? No. I mean, I think we could put that in narratively, like, say, rather... Because, you can't really shoot the leg off, but you can break it so that they're limping. Mech loses a leg, if they've only got one leg, they're fucked. So it would be more like, you damage it, you take the joint seizes up, say, you just rack off all of the myoma and it just stiffens and they're now limping, that sort of thing. So it slows them down. So mech speed halved after loss of after loss of leg. With a V, Joshua. Of leg. Yep. A good point. Flavor however you like. Again, I'm trying to keep it simple. And I'm worried that it's already getting more complicated. Maybe of a light scout mech being able to hop. Oh, yeah. Jump jets are a thing. Yeah. You can have assault mechs that can jump. They can't jump very far. And that would increase your evasion as well. Absolutely. Each location would have different amounts of armor. How to sort of figure that, I guess. And how many points of damage each weapon does. Oh, here we go. Getting interesting now. It's again, we're getting into that chicken and egg. Like, you build the armor first, or do you build the... Ooh, getting a little loud there. There we go. Let's just turn that down just a tiny bit. True, on reducing the rules, I tried a very rules-light version of my homebrew I developed in high school to test on my D&D players. Oh, yeah. How'd that go? I teach in a dance school. The amount of fun they had with fewer rules made me realize that probably overthought a lot. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the reasons I love Quest. If you want a seriously good but rules-light game, Quest is beautiful. It's just a D20. That's all you need, and the character sheet can be. It's all free. I should honestly approach them about sponsorship because I talk about Quest all the freaking time. It's just a really lovely game. It's all the resources are free. There is an online character generator that they built, yes, oof. I keep forgetting what you can hear isn't what I can hear. If I turn it down there we go. It's a bit quieter. Yes. Yeah, Quest was lovely. Sean O'Donovan introduced me to Quest, and I hecking loved it. One of the nicest RP experiences I've ever had was with Quest. We had inadvertently all built characters that were a bit broken, but fundamentally lovely people. And we, went on an adventure to go and kill a bunch of things, and eventually didn't do any of that. Music, it sounds like we are at the mech base selecting loadouts. Yeah, a little bit. Quite loud. Alright, so... and I think there would be, before they take direct damage, and then a certain amount of durability before they break and fall off. If a torso is broken. It's very loud. I'm gonna go something else. It's nice, but no. Tell you what, seeing as we're building something, seeing as we're making something, let's do the forge. The biggest thing they all loved in the homebrew was that instead of having hit points, they had hero dice to throw, limit per session. Then a limit on how many they could throw per round depending on levels of skill. Ooh, that's nice. I like that. If a side torso is broken, the attached arm falls off. If the center torso is broken, the mech is destroyed. Likewise, if both legs are destroyed, because it's immobilized. That helped with the drama. So I guess the next thing we'd have to do before we go into any more detail on that is work out a basic idea of how much damage each weapon would do. Although we could just arbitrarily decide, right, so these things all have this number of hit points. How many hits does it take from a medium laser, say, to take off that much damage, to do that much damage? Like, how hard do I want it to be for a mech to get broken? And I think some weapons inherently scatter. And here comes the damage maths. Dead fox. Meow meow. Well then, let's talk weapons. Let's talk weapons. And that's actually a relatively easy subject to talk about because in universe there are not actually a vast array of weapons. You have short-range missiles, SRMs, and they come in 3 variations: 2, 4, and 6. An SRM2, an SRM4, and an SRM6. They all contain 2, 4, or 6 missiles. And so, how much damage does an SRM do? Well, the thing is, SRMs don't seek, so they are functionally scatter. Maths intensify. They are inherently scatter weapons. So I would say, like, the first one hits the intended target, and the second one scatters. All the ones after that scatter. Scatter weapon after the first. So one, and let's say each missile does 3 damage. They are supposed to pack a bit of a wallop. Repeated firings of an SRM in your rear arc is really problematic. And there are some mechs that can, like, I had a Kintaro that could fire 24 at once. It was basically all it did. It was just this massive walking SRM magazine with a pair of lasers just strapped onto its arms, like, these also are here. But a single broadside from it could cripple a mech half again heavier than it was, but it also drove it into the overheat range straight off the bat. couldn't handle the heat, but so you had to turn half the weapons off for regular use. But if you really wanted to just turn up the damage, you could just like, okay, maximum effort, boom. So each missile does 3 damage. That sounds alright. Ooh, range. Quite short. Meat grinder. I remember SRMs. Close combat meat grinder. So for the first SRM, first hit normal probability, then -2, -4, -6. Oh yeah. All right, that's a better idea. So because there is a recoil element to them, not a lot, not a big one, but a little bit, unless you're close. Yeah. Even then. Because the closer you are, any movement at all will throw your aim will throw your aim off quite a bit worse. Let us say, yeah, each missile has an increasing... Yeah, I actually like this better. Likelihood of missing. Likelihood of missing. Adding... That's cool, because that actually gives you a reason to have SRM2s when you could have an SRM6. Adding... +2 to the AC for each shot, meaning that some may scatter or miss completely. That's cool. I like that a lot. That was nice. Thank you, Salt and Buttery. I'd often jump jet in and go for it. Big gamble, but that's how I roll. Yeah. Each missile has an increased likelihood of missing, adding +2 to the AC for each shot. You fire in volley, so you fire your SRM2, both missiles go. Hey, Jack, quick question. Since I know little about Battletech, are we fighting just fellow robots or kaiju as well? No kaiju. No kaiju. No capes. Yeah, no, just fellow robots, normally tanks and occasionally infantry as well. The poor bastards. That is actually a valid point, though. There is a kind of missile called an Inferno round. Those hurt. You want to fight kaiju? I mean, if you want to fight kaiju, let's play Mecha Hack. Because they've got kaiju for days in Mecha Hack. And I do want to run a Mecha Hack game. Because it is a really neat little system. I was like, that's very cool. No kaiju for you. Josh is a kaiju Nazi. I am not. I just don't want to have kaiju in my game. You can fight kaiju anywhere. I mean, there might be some exofauna on a planet. If you want to go and kill a giant kaiju, you can get dropped in and do that. I love the idea. I'm just a kaiju slut. Alrighty, cool. I really think that's a very cool mechanic. So, say you need an 18, you roll a 20, so your first 2 missiles hit where you're going, but then after the first, then the next 2 scatter onto different parts of the mech, and then the 2 after that drop under the DC, under the AC of the mech and miss completely. So you get 6 points of damage on the part you're aiming at, then a further 6 points of damage elsewhere, scattered on the mech, and then 2 more just don't hit at all. Tarask is the best kaiju. I mean, yeah, this is it. If you want to fight a kaiju, man, I can just put a Tarask in Humblewood. That could work. There's a Tarask guarding the gateway back to Barovia. If you reduce the AC loss in close range, it would really encourage them to take big risks. Ooh. Sure, I like that. If you are under 30 feet, that's 10 meters. That's really close. let's say 60 feet. The reduction is only +1. My evil side is showing. If you played the game Into the Breach, might give some cool ideas to call kaiju-esque stuff in a fun way. Really want that kaiju stuff. Like players need more encouragement to take risks. Particularly as Ardana has played with my players. No, I think that's a good idea, though. It actually does track. It makes sense. So that's SRMs. That's dealt with. Range would be no more than... so I would say they are good to 210 feet is max range. I'm thinking in 30-foot cubes, because each mech is about 10 meters high, which is about 30 feet, and we're going to be treating them like a 5-foot cube. So 7 cubes would be max range on the short-range missile. After that, they drop to Earth. They run out of... they run out of power. Yeah, 30-inch. Yeah. Have you played the game Into the Breach? Is Into the Breach the Pacific Rim game, Jack? Because I've got Pacific Rim on the list of things to look at. So that's SRMs. Now we need to talk about LRMs, which come in varieties of 5, 10, 15, and 20. And I think something similar. It's not. It's a fun strategy game that you can get for pretty cheap. Ooh, okay. Into the Breach. Ooh. On Steam. Oh, it's by FTL. Oh, heck yeah. Ooh, I like it. Looks very cool. Subset games. Control powerful mechs from the future to defeat an alien threat. So it is Pacific Rim. But that's fine. Pinnacle Robotics head office. Ooh, alright. One of the best things I've played this year. Oh, I worry I could lose a lot of life to this. That's very cool. Thanks, Jack. I like it. But the mechs all have different abilities. One I'm having fun with is the one with the lightning whip. If you line up bad guys and smack them dead with continued damage, nice. It's unspecific Rim. Pacific Rim job? Overwhelmingly positive. That is a hefty thing. Steam doesn't hand them out easily. That's very cool. Yeah, it's going onto my wish list right now. Steam. That's Sirenscape. Do I not have Steam open? God. Okay, I'm going to leave that running so I remember to do it, because that looks dope. LRM's suggestion: make the players really squishy out of... Oh, yeah! That way they'd be weighing up the potential risk of personal death versus mech damage. I found that in spacecraft fighting in the Homebrew. I do recommend it. It's a great game. I play on Switch all the time. Ooh. Dries water from keyboard. Oh no. So, I think something similar for the LRMs, which is basically long-range missiles. The range would be, let's go big or go home, let's say 600 feet. At least. And each missile has, again, an increasing likelihood of missing. But I feel like it should be like every 2 missiles. I mean, it's done in increments of 5, so maybe every 5 missiles has an increased chance of missing. So the first 5, because they fire in clumps, in clusters, so... yeah, there is no easy... No, I don't mind this. Okay, I think, say each missile does 1 damage. Because you're showering your enemy. I'm spelling missiles without 2 L's. Is it no? And 1 S? No, that's wrong as well. Look at that. S. Alright, go on then. How do I spell missile word? Missile? Need another I? That looks fucking wrong. That's not right. Missile. Okay. Can't spell. I knew this. That looks wrong to me. Nice. There's no E. Now there's an E. Lol. Yeah, no. That looks right. I mean, it doesn't though. I'm dyslexic. I'm very, very badly dyslexic. And it's not like, oh, I'm dyslexic. I actually am. I'm yeah, can't read for shit. I read very, very slowly. It's why I also am, like, just bad typing. Each missile does 1 damage. Because you're showering your enemy at them, and... Did you find Sile? Nah, I just missed him. I missed Sile. Sile. Each missile does 1 damage. I think increasing increments of... 3? Let's say 3. And in each, so let's say adding every 3 have an increasing likelihood of missing. So I could probably just that way the mace meaning that some may scatter or miss completely. That. There is also, with long-range missiles, a minimum range. Every 3, so... Yeah, when you fire a 5, the first 3 will probably be on hit, the last 2 might not be. If you fire a 10, you got 3, 3, 3, and 1. The last one might miss, which makes sense. Adding +2 for AC for each shot, meaning that some may scatter or miss completely. Minimum range. I want there to be some overlap between the minimum range of a short-range missile and the minimum range of a long-range missile. So let us say 150. 150 is still... Because 120 is only 4 squares. I think 150. 150 feet is the short range. Anything closer than 150 feet, you just can't target. Max range is... yeah, I think 600. I think we were going to say 600 feet. Cool. LRMs and SRMs. Inferno rounds may be loaded into the tubes as some or all of the ammo stored. Inferno rounds don't do damage. They add heat. Sounds good. Are you thinking of a simple multiplier of the damage versus squishy humans? I mean, I would say anything other than a small laser would just straight up kill a squishy human. These are weapons designed to kill 10 meter tall walking tanks. There is basically just no survivability of being shot by a medium laser can kill a light tank with a single blast. I just don't see a human being surviving any attack from a direct hit from any weapon fired by a mech. And like mechanically in universe, like canonically rather in universe, regiments of men go up against like a single mech and lose more often than not. So dex save to take cover for half their hit points. Yeah, that'd probably be round about where I'd go. Dex save or you straight up die. Don't be on the ground because if you get out, you can get out of your mech during a fight, but there's no particularly good reason to do so. We're not talking Titanfall. This is, being out of your mech is extremely bad idea. Particularly as they're not wearing armor in the mech either. Most of them are wearing jocks and maybe a singlet. Some of the better equipped ones are wearing a cooling vest to keep them cool because, honestly, those things overheat so much. That's fun. Also encourages the behavior you want. Yeah, and tell them that is the only because they're frigging heroes that they get the save. Yeah, absolutely. You get knocked unconscious, you're taking death saves, and to save you, someone's going to have to get out of their mech to get down on the ground and help you, unless you happen to have some infantry allies, which makes sense. Mechanically in-game, they would have an ejection seat, but it very much fires you up and away, and you get, it's got enough rocket power to take you not orbital, but suborbital to a safe location. So you can get away from the fighting and hide, is the point of the ejection seat. So if you eject, you are no longer involved. And it's, if you basically, you can call the ejection, but you have to do it before the mech goes boom. You is out. Yeah. If you both legs get taken out, or both your arms and both, like if you have no in Mech Warrior 5, if you take all the weapons off at mech, the pilot ejects. Enemy mechs anyway. Just because, well, I can't do anything more here and I don't want to die. Makes sense. So I think the really fun mechanic is I mean, not all the time, Salt and Buttery, and if they've got even a single working machine gun, they'll stick around. Like Phoenix Hawks for Tequila, they have quite exposed arms. It's really easy to just nip the arms off, at which point the pilot leaves, because they only have two weapon systems, they're both in the arms. I'm like, mount them in the chest, guys. It's one of my favorite things about the Banshee assault mech, is that it doesn't have weapons in its arms. Well, some variants do, but yeah, the basic variant doesn't. It's just got guns only in its torso, which means it can't really aim up and down particularly well, and you have to track your entire torso around to shoot people, but it makes it really hard to shoot your guns off. Whereas, if you mount a Gauss cannon on one of your arms, you know they're going to be shooting that arm off, and you're going to have to continually replace that Gauss cannon, which is a fucking irritating thing. They add heat, and I'm going to put a big TBC about how heat works. So ammo stocks would be an interesting thing for that as well. A standard ton of ammunition for a long-range missile is 440 rounds. Heat math, yeah, exactly. I think that's something I do want to write in here, actually, about locational damage. Ejection system. If you are caught In a mech that goes critical, you risk dying. However, punching out before that damages your mech further, though if the group is successful, you can salvage it before it gets completely destroyed, which is a good idea, but you play no further part in the battle. So if you're caught in a mech that goes critical, you risk dying. However, punching out before that damages your mech further, though if the party is successful, you can salvage it. So, yeah. You basically have to... I'm going to say you have to replace the head of your mech if you eject. A pilot ejects. All armor on the head location is destroyed. That's more fair, rather than just... It doesn't break the head, but it will damage it. All the armor on the head location is destroyed and will need to be replaced. Successful. It is very successful. If the pilot ejects, all armor on the head location is destroyed. And they are taken to... they go to safety. Yeah. Right. Lasers. There are 3 kinds. Large, medium, and small. Now, I actually remember the in-game stats for this. So a small laser does 15 damage, a medium does 25, and a large does 40. Large lasers, the heat suckers from hell. Well, quite. Until you get to the PPC, and the ER PPC, and the pulse large laser. I'm not going into that, because the setting I want to use is pre-Clan Invasions, pre-Helm Memory Core Discovery, so a lot of this is lost tech, which means it basically doesn't exist. So, I mean, it does, but you have to... No one knows how to make it. So, it limits the amount of work I have to do, which is smart of me, I think. And there is also weight to all of these things as well. So I actually should go back. So an SRM2 weight. Weight. SRM2 is 1 ton. 4 is 2 tons. And a 6 is 3 tons. Or if it exists, they're like, how does that fit on that? Mechanic check at disadvantage to have a clue. That's nice as well. Like, yeah, and it would be cool. Like, it's the equivalent of finding magic weapons. Is you find a medium pulse laser. Ooh, what's that do? It does twice the damage of a medium laser. It weighs twice as much. It does twice as much heat, but it takes up the same amount of space. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Let's put that in the things I want to include. Lost tech. Lost tech. Like magic items. Double heat sinks. Pulse lasers. Gas rifles. And the like. LRMs, weights-wise, it's gonna copy it. It's quicker than writing it. So the weight on an LRM 5 is 2 tons. The weight on an LRM 10 is, as I recall, 5 tons. Oh. 10 is 5 tons. 55 tons? No. 5 tons. On the 15, it's 7. Yeah, this is right. Yeah. 7 tons. And on the 20, it's 10 tons. Which is always why, like, when I was customing my mechs for Battletech, you can actually save yourself a ton. If you want to have an LRM 20, you instead have an LRM 5 and an LRM 15. That saves you a ton. Which means you can have an extra half ton of armor and an extra half ton of ammunition. Then they have to think about the heat sinks and make some downtime, roleplay, spitballing. Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things to do in both games is redesign mechs and custom them to make them work better. And particularly when you can get your hands on some double heat sinks, which weigh the same and take up 3 times the space, but weigh the same as a normal heat sink and do twice the heat sinking. Yeah, they're very handy things. So, I think, remember something like... Yeah, probably, yeah. The thing is, you can't do that in 5 because it's a little bit more limited. You have a large slot for missiles, which you can mount an LRM 20 or an LRM 15. A medium-sized slot, which you can put an SRM 6 or an LRM 10. And then a small missile slot, which is the 2, the 4, and the LRM 5. But you can put smaller items on bigger slots, but you can't put, say, 3 small items in 1 big slot, which is irritating. I was like, why not? It's a little restricted. Cool. I guess they probably don't want you mixing and matching mediums and shorts and longs. But there's no particularly good reason why you can't put 2 medium lasers on a large laser slot, you know? So, lasers. What are we saying about the lasers? So, we always talk about damage first. So, how much damage does a large laser do from a single hit? And we're going to be comparing... I think, actually, we almost want to say the medium first. The medium is the baseline. The medium laser is the one that almost all mechs have one of on them. So, let us say 5 damage from a medium laser. And 8 from a large. Lasers do 8 damage. And it's very... they're also extremely easy to aim. Mediums do 5 and smalls do 3. Dreaded GM is raiding. Raiders, thank you so much for the raid, you bloody champions. Yeah, throw your favorite raid emotes up in chat, everybody. I'm going to throw some Nerds of the West hype up there. Yes. Raiders, thank you so much for raiding. I know you guys were doing some world building as well. And Dread, how are you? I know you're a little snuffly today, but good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us for our Tactics Tyrsday. We are doing some. We are not world building. We are system building. We are homebrewing a game system to play in the BattleTech universe. Kerry H, author, Link's Mima, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming. Got the snuffles from a little man. Link. No, kids are gross. As in, they are full of germs. I adore children. Bloody Zeros, hey mate, how are you? Good to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello and well met, sir. Shorty R, nice to meet you. Thank you very much for joining us. Yes, I be Josh the Pirate. Elysian, hello my dear. I have recently experienced some of your beautiful, beautiful artwork, Elysian. I'm very excited for the thing that's going to happen. Enjoy the stream. I'm going to rest. You do that, sir. Yes. So, what are we doing? We are currently working out the. Yeah. Hope you feel better soon, Dread. And Dread, I want to do another catch up on a Friday. I want another Friday coffee. All the love, Corsair's Cove. Thank you very much, Dread. Take care. I got the snuffles from the little man as well. Let's go. Yeah, let's do it. And yeah, because we said we need to have more people. We want to involve more peeps. Let's do that. All the hangs. Let's do it. Yeah, I'm up for it. I'll shoot you a private message on Discord, mate. Take care and get better soon, buddy. So we're talking currently about how much damage large lasers do. Nerds! And smalls do 3 points of damage, we are saying. So yeah, for our raiders, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Josh the Pirate. This is Corsair's Cove, the channel I run with my lovely lady wife. We do D&D and other RPG systems, and Tactics Tuesday is all about expanding our horizons and finding new D&D or RPG systems to play. I've had a look at several, a lot of them with the intention of building this game. The very first one I tried was the Battletech RPG system, which is a bit crap. And I'm talking smack about them. It's fine. It's very, very complicated. Too complicated for me to easily get my head around, even just the character creation of. And I'm like, couple that with the fact that it doesn't actually include any driving of the giant mechs, and if you're gonna play games in that system, why not drive the giant mechs? You can switch to a different tabletop battle game for that, but it's like switching to Warhammer while you're playing D&D, you know? And it's got a whole different rule system, and I'm like, no, the rule system should be integral to the RPG system. So I'm homebrewing my own, based heavily on 5e, because I think that makes more sense. We've limited the character classes down a little bit. I'm going to be fine with most people taking almost any race class. We'll just say, yeah, but you look like a human, because you are. But you're from a different place. Say, like, the elves are from House Liao's territory, for example. Or maybe not. Maybe we just have, yeah, you're an elf. You have the stats of an elf. You have the abilities of an elf. But you're not an elf. You are a human. You don't live any longer. Yeah, that sort of thing is the premise. So the main rework I want to do, the main sort of modifications to the system I want to have, is the mech piloting. So currently what we're doing is influenced heavily by the mech games I've played. Oh, Shorty R, thank you very much for the follow. Yeah, influenced very heavily by Mech Warrior and Battletech and Mech Commander from back in the day, and Mech Assault back on the Xbox, the original Xbox, is rebuild that in an RPG format. Using a lot of the in-game stats that are already there. There's an awful lot of resources that are already out for this, and I think it would be a good place to start. And I'm wanting to keep it canonically very strongly based in the original Battletech canon. Which all the games I have encountered and all the books and all the everything does do very well. They are very good at consistency within their own canon, so who am I to fly in the face of that? So that's the damage large lasers do, and mediums and smalls. Large lasers would also have better range. So I don't think anything like the range on a long-range missile. So let us say 400? I wish we streamed that homebrew so I could show you the fun of the stress system on the players' faces. We only just started streaming regularly. Oh, cool. Love it. So, Salt and Buttery, could you explain your stress system a little bit more thoroughly? Because I'm not sure I grasped it when you explained it earlier. Because, yeah, anything that generates that level of stress on the players' faces, I want to see. I want to know about that. Yeah. There's 3. I don't think we want anything specific about scattering. I think lasers are very precise weapons. And, like, the premise of a laser is it's not Star Wars. You can't dodge them. I think I did read somewhere that there was canon reason why you could react fast enough to parry a laser bolt in Star Wars is because they're not actually lasers. Technically, they're ionized plasma. They're firing bolts of plasma at you through a magnetic field, more like what the Covenant do in Halo. I'm really showing my nerd cred now. Yes, I read an awful lot of sci-fi. And so that's why Jedi can parry the laser bolts. They call them lasers because that's what George Lucas calls them, not because that's what they actually are. These are lasers. They move at the speed of light. Missing with them is quite difficult. As long as you're pointing in the right place, it'll hit the place you want to hit. I love that they're coherent light lasers because that means they shouldn't do any damage at all. Here's the thing. With lasers, if you can see them, they're not dangerous. They could sacrifice stress points to push their skill level, and therefore hero dice could only use, they could only use in one round. Sacrifice a stress point. How many stress points did they have? Was it very, very limited to push their skill level? So yeah, basically they could deliberately work harder to push themselves to succeed. 6 points. Okay, so it was like, so they'd probably be fairly free and easy with the first few. It's like spell slots. You're like, okay, I can burn a second level, I burn a third. Oh, I've only got 3 left, and I might need to heal myself later. Fuck, you know, that sort of thing. So as they were getting, like, it would be more player stress than character stress, and they could only use them once, one per round. That would make sense. I wouldn't want to let them burn too many at once. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that would be stressful. I would even only allow them like 3, so that the stress is like, do I, don't I, do I, don't they? And it's very much, in my experience, the line between an experienced player and a non-experienced player. Yeah, but after 2 levels, they start reducing their ability rolls. Ah, okay, right. So after they've started getting stressed, they get worse at stuff. So they very, very temporarily get better, and then they get progressively. I like that. That's clever. I like that idea. Yeah, a lot of the inexperienced players are really iffy about expendables. Like, I was like, and she's obviously way better at it now, but Karen, when she started playing, the first character Karen ever played was a battle master, and it didn't really matter. But her second character was a sorcerer. And Catalina was really iffy about casting spells. She just didn't do it very often, because Karen was like, but I might need them later. I'm like, but you need them now. And when she was first level as well. So sorcerer, she had 2 spell slots. 6 levels means a stress roll at -6 to anything. Yeah, that would be bad. Yeah, absolutely. Which means, so yeah, the more you use, the more you actually need to use as well. Otherwise, they'll lose the round. Yeah. Oh, I like that, Sultan. That's very cool. Like that a lot. So, yeah, you would have to be, yeah. Cool. Alright, so, range. I don't think we need to add any sort of difficulties to hit. So let's say large laser. Range is 400 feet. Well, no, it's got to be in multiples of 30. There's 420, I think is the mathematically, or 390. Let's say 420. Medium range, the effective range for a medium laser range is 300. Yeah. And short, the range of a small range is, where have we gone? The range on a small laser is, I want it to be round about the same as a short-range missile, maybe a little less. Max range, so let's say 180. So you have to be in pretty close, because 180 is 6 squares. That's actually not very close. Let's even go 150. Yeah, same. I was like, what? No, it just paragraph became too big for that page. That's 5. That's still, I actually no, I'm going to say 120. I reckon you have to be real close to even use the small laser effectively. Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. Because small lasers aren't super useful. Cool, that's actually fairly easy. Weight. The weight on a small, a medium, and a large. Was it still saved? Hey, it was. So, the weight on a small is half a ton. 0.5 of a ton. The weight on a medium, this is the primary benefit of lasers, is only a single ton. The weight on a large laser is, I actually think 3 tons. And I could be wrong. I actually think it's 5 tons. I think large lasers are a lot heavier. I've got the internet right here. Large laser weight Battletech. Yes. 5 tons. Yeah, there you go. Sana.net is an excellent wiki as well. 5 tons. They've done a lot of the balancing work for me. Why bother? Why fix it? Let's look at comparative ranges. The short range laser, oh, that's short, medium, long for a large laser. Yeah. 15 hexes. Yeah. I reckon that feels about right. I almost feel like it's too heavy. But there we are. I had so much fun with my current character in Dread's Call of the Netherdeep campaign. She's a reborn trickery cleric and managed to fall off her mount during a tortoise race because she turned around to heal a party member. She got badly bit by her tortoise, but did she stop to heal herself? Nope, she spent her rounds to try and get back up and subsequently landed on death saves because the tortoise didn't like a 5.5-foot elf looking thing dressed in scale mail climbing on it. I thought of it because my thought was, I don't want to waste spell slots. Yep. No, fair. Alrighty, so that's lasers. Now the other primary weapon is ACs. Auto cannon. Autocannons. So, these come in 4 variants as well. The 2... the 5, the 10, and the 20. The 20s are a beast. So an AC2, but unlike lasers, the bigger ones have a shorter range. So the AC2 doesn't pack a significant wallop, but it has got a bitchin' range. It's a sniper rifle, but for a mech. Well, actually, no, sorry. A Gauss rifle is a sniper rifle, but for a mech. An autocannon 2 is a submachine gun. No, not a submachine gun. What's the word I'm looking for? That would be an AC-5 burst cannon, which is a submachine gun for a mech. No, a DMR, a dedicated marksman rifle. AC-20 drool, yes, selective rifle fire. Too much DMing has taught me that there is a fine line between thinking ahead and conservatively to putting yourself in danger while being too conservative. Yeah. I think a good rule of thumb is to have at least 1 or 2 slots for emergencies. Yes. Slash a crit. If you're playing a paladin. So the AC2 damage. 2s do... I would say an AC2 does about the same damage as a medium laser. But weighs twice... Well, actually weighs about 3 times as much. AC2. Wait. Weighs 6 tons. Wow. Gosh. Why does it weigh so much? Astral AC2 comes in at 8 tons with a ton of ammo. That's Reddit. That's not necessarily accurate. 6 tons. Okay. 6 tons for the AC2. For 6 tons, you'd want more damage than a single medium laser. But it does have better range and it doesn't do as much heat. Fuck it. I reckon the same as a medium laser. Let's say 3 damage. 2s do 3 damage. 5s do... Oh no, 3 damage is only on a small laser. I reckon, yeah, it's got to be 5 damage. 5s do 8. Same damage as a large laser. And then the 10s and the 20s do much more. Let's say 7 for the 5. Yeah. 10s do 10. Just a straight 10 damage. Or even 12. What do you think? Seems high for the medium. Yeah. You reckon maybe 4 and 2? Large lasers do twice as much damage as a medium laser. Bear in mind that a full volley of short-range missiles will do 6 if they all hit, and generates roughly the same amount of heat. You know, 2 and 4. All right, there's a valid point. 2. In which case, then, yeah, I reckon the autocannon 2 should do 4 damage. 5s should do... I think 7's actually fine. Maybe 6? What do we think? 6 or 7 damage. Because it's not like... Yeah, this thing, you're like, you don't roll damage. Which removes that element of it. That removes that complexity. Yeah, you're rolling to hit, not to do the damage, because a shot from a gun does damage. It's more about where it hits, which is what you will be rolling. You will be rolling twice every time you make an attack. Maybe I'm remembering AC's doing less heat than lasers. Yes, yeah, they do. Yeah, no, that's the trade-off. You can fire them a lot more because they don't generate anywhere near as much heat, but they do way more. And you've only got a certain amount of weight that you can carry based on your engine size and your mech's total weight. Before you are over encumbered and reduce your maximum speed. And basically, just there isn't a version of Mech Warrior or Mech Assault or any mech tactical game at all I've ever encountered that lets you put a mech that weighs more than it's supposed to out there, even by a small amount. You're not allowed to field a 45-ton mech with an extra ton of armor, so it weighs 46 tons, but is slower. It just doesn't let you. Probably because the programming just isn't capable of doing it. There's no mechanical reason why not, but I would be against it as well for the same reasons. Not even a half-ton. No, not even. It's happy with you fielding slightly underweight mechs. Doesn't bother with that. In Mech Warrior 5, I've more than once maxed out all the armor, just completely filled all the armor slots, because a lot of mechs come pretty much at their maximum armor anyway, and then I was like, right, yeah, but you don't need all that ammunition. You're never going to fire that much ammunition, so I cut it down by like half a ton of ammo. Normally by slapping in some extra heat sinks. I had the same problem until Josh decided I could work with the Humblewood folks. I get to play a fair bit of Cthulhu too, which is my favorite system. Yeah, I always wanted to get a little bit more speed on a reduced rate loadout, but particularly because I'm the opposite. I hate controlling at speed. I'm much better when I'm moving slowly or not at all. But yeah, no, I slapped in. I slapped in 2 double heat sinks, thus reducing the weight. Allowed me to put in more armor. And I maxed out the armor, and I was about a quarter of a ton off, and they're like, that's fine. I'm like, why is that fine? Why can't I be over for the same reason? Yeah, didn't complain about that. As long as you're less than half a ton, so that basically it's just like, look, there's nothing else you could put on this, so fine. So, 5s do 7, I think that's still okay. 10s do 12? Not quite twice as much in both instances. Yeah, that makes sense. And 20s do, say, 21. 21 points of damage from a direct hit by an AC 20. It's a lot. But they have a very short range, and they weigh an awful lot, and they generate quite a bit of heat. Mech Pawn. AC 20. I don't like... I'm going to say 20 tons. I'm going to say 20 points of damage for an AC 20. I don't want, like, mech killers. Because that... If you headshot most things with an AC 20, it would straight up kill them. Yeah. I think it's fair, though. Do 20. Straight 20 points of damage. But they're really hard to aim. Recoil. So ACs have a base... have the AC 20 is harder to get them. Is a harder to get item. Yeah, and like there are some like you have to have. I'd agree. But there are some light and medium mechs that have them as standard. Variants on the urban mech, which is a 30-ton light mech, which is really hecking slow, but is very well armored and has a small laser and an AC either 10 or 20. And the urban mechs with the 20, you put an AC 20 on anything like that small, it's going to get nailed really fast, because an AC 20 weighs, as I recall, 14 tons. If you mount that on a 30-ton mech, almost half the weight of the mech is that single gun. AC 20. The weight of an AC 20... Ammo per ton, 5 ammo cost. That's clan. Innisphere clan, alright. Damage, 20. 20 per shot. Interesting. Medium range, ammo per ton, ammo class, tech base, inner sphere. I'm just looking for the weight. I think 14 sounds about right. Good medium mech for an AC-20. The Centurion. If you're looking for a medium mech, or well, the Hunchback, why go beyond the Hunchback? You have to have the yeah. I definitely think it should be harder to get, but not impossible. So yeah, have the big ticket items. So yeah, maybe one of them comes with it on it, but if it gets broken, then it's really hard to replace. Kind of like that idea. All armor on the head location. So ACs suffer from recoil. I think the bigger guns have a bigger negative as well. The AC2 only has a -1 to all shots made with it. The 5s have a 2. Twos have a -1 to hit modifier. 5s have a 2, 10s a 3, and 20s a 4. Firing on successive turns increases this further by 1 for each consecutive round. This stacks. Yeah. So, yeah, they do more damage. They don't generate very much heat, but they weigh quite a lot, and they're really hard to shoot with. AC-20 is 14 tons. Boom. There you go. Sure. So, let us then say weight. AC-2 weighs, and we did find that one out, 6 tons. The 5 weighs, let's say 8. Why didn't you give me the helpful thing? Autocannon. Aha. 8 tons. There you go. Oh, it's got all of them. Related weapons. Order. Recycle. Damage. Small lasers. 3, 5, and 9. ER large lasers. DPS. That's damage per second. Heat. 2, 4, and 7. Yeah. Clan Ultra AC. Yeah, all of this stuff. The clan stuff we're not getting into. 8. Yep. Cool. Does it have an AC 10's weight? Order. Tonnage. There you go. 12. 12 and 14. Wow, there's a big jump. So, damage. 10, 20. So it's 2, 5, 10, and 20. So it's actually it's the number. That's interesting. Autocannon 2s should only do 2 damage. 2, 5, 10, and 20. Seeing as they've already balanced this, let's just use theirs. 3, 5, and 9. I really love that this is basically what we've been coming up with anyway. It's pretty much nailed it. Gauss rifle does 15. Plan Gauss rifle does 15 as well. Huh. Feels wrong. Long range missiles do 5.5. What? Oh, total. Yeah. I don't think I needed it to be perfect. I don't think it needed to be exactly copied. So let's, yeah. 10s. Weigh 10 tons. Oh no, 12 tons. And 20s weigh 14. Yeah. Right. Considering you're simplifying, maybe use DPS damage for balance comparison. Oh yeah, sure. What are we saying? Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind not being perfect as well. That's fine by me. And I think I like the idea that twos do a little bit more damage. They do about the same as a medium, and that's out of mild curiosity. 5 and 2s don't do as much. They do as much as a 5. Alright. So maybe we reduce that a little bit. I think it should be somewhere between. So let's say 6 and 3. Let's say 2s do 3 damage. And 5s do 6. 10s do 12. Or 11. 10s do 11. And 20s do 20. I think that's better. Because we are giving them a much bigger modifier. Like, there is a big negative for using an autocannon. That looks balanced. Yeah. Cool. Very helpful bean, salt and buttery. So, autocannons, lasers, missiles, that's basically it. So, yeah, without wanting to get more sort of complicated, we'll get... Oh, machine guns. That is the other thing. Oh, we also need to know the range on them. Ranges. Range on the AC. So I'm going to say the AC-2 has the same range as a long-range missile. 600 feet. 2s have 600 foot range. 5s, it's... 420, which was, I think, the maximum range of a large laser. Yeah, which is about right. 10s, we drop that to the range of a medium laser, which is 300 feet. And the 20, it's better than a short range a small laser though. So I would say the 20s have a max range of is 210. This is not a god killer at anything other than reasonably close range. Like, you will have to weather their fire to get to them with this massive gun. Yeah, I think that's about right. And then we talk about machine guns, which are a subset of AC, but... guns. Looking at your other ranges, it's good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And so the machine gun has the same range as a small laser, weighs the same, but requires ammunition. And I would say probably does... Oh, I'd say it does the same damage as well. Oh, the other thing they have is flamers. So weight 0.5 ton. Fires, I don't know, let's say 100 rounds a turn. Carries enough, a single ton, 1 ton of ammo is enough to fire, well, a ton of ammo is, say, 2,200 rounds? Because I'm imagining them having multiple engagements before they extract. This is running battles and before they are able to reload. Because that's 22 rounds of constant firing, which is a lot for a single ton of ammunition. But that's a ton of ammunition to power more than one gun as well, more often than not. Bedtime for me. This has been great. Pleased to meet you guys and catch up with you again soon. Shorty R, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. Have a nice sleepy times. I might well be knocking this off in the next little while as well, but I don't need to go just yet. I am having an interesting time. So, yeah. Ciao, Shorty. Maybe let's say 1,800. That's 18 rounds for a single gun, or 9 rounds for 2. Which you probably would have, because you want more than a single gun. And then you can also have a half ton, which is only 900 rounds, which leaves you 9 rounds of fire. Which is plenty, because the range is really short. Yeah, I think that's about right. Max range is 120 feet. Is 120 feet. Does 2 damage. To max. And 4 to vehicles. Infantry. Going back to what we were saying earlier, Jack is off as well. Excited to see how this goes. Josh, let me know if you get Into the Breach. I will get it. Possibly we say, in terms of infantry on the field, every 10 hit points you have is 1 point of damage from a mech scale weapon. So no, honestly, I really do like the just deck save, otherwise you die. Yeah, 10 times 10 multiplier. Yeah. Just don't get shot. Yeah. But for the machine gun, you mean? Yeah. No, that I think definitely makes sense. So, yeah. Machine gun would do 40 damage on a direct hit, half on... Because you're small, you deck save for half damage. Yeah. Alright, so does 4 to vehicles and infantry, including pilots. So, yeah, that's fine. We need a Nota Bene. Where would I put it? Ejection system. Being on the ground in a mech fight without a mech is terrifying and very hazardous. Absolutely hazardous. Hazardous. And very hazardous. It makes deadly as it should be, unless they have full cover. Yeah. Being on the ground in a mech fight without a mech is terrifying and very hazardous. So if shot by a mech scale weapon, a single unarmored or human or similar must make a dex save taking, because it's really hard to, like, if a laser passes near you, you get burnt, even if it doesn't actually touch you. And SRMs explode, AC-20s have a fair amount of oomph when they land. There's just sort of, yeah. And still, I think there would be a targeting issue. You're like aiming at something small. A thought. What if the machine gun was one weapon that they have a chance against? Great for end of ammunition battles. Yeah? Was the one weapon they do? Yeah, because the machine gun is actually an infantry killer. But it's an infantry scale weapon. It's not really a mech scale weapon. Yeah. Interesting thought. So, like, actually 2d6 damage against people. Yeah? Against individuals. Against groups of individuals, just mow them down. But against a single individual, because it's not super accurate and it's very close-in weapon, yeah. Must make a dex save, taking half damage on a success. And there are, of course, like, barbarians and rogues who can half that. Danger sense, or cunning action. Yeah. So, yeah. Must make a dex. A single unarmored human is the trick. Must make a dex save, taking half damage on a success. The damage scales by 10 for everything other than the machine gun. Which does 2d6 damage. So potentially still 12. And then half because of the dodge. Yeah, alright. I don't mind that. When a mech is down a machine gun, someone might actually be better to sneak out of a damaged mech and use grenades, as they are a small target and possibly as stealthy. Yeah? Or satchel charges on the legs. Yeah. Yeah. Don't disagree. And it makes that, yes, I mean, hurting a mech is the trick. They've got to find and hunt you down, but actually damaging them from an infantry perspective is almost impossible. So, yeah, that would be a skill check and stuff like that. Yeah, I can see that totally working. And this is the point, we do want to integrate mech fighting and not mechs. Like, not being in a mech. Because I don't want it to just be scaled up, because then it doesn't feel any different. If you're in a giant robot fighting other giant robots, you're just the same scale as before. End of ammo situation's fun. Yeah, absolutely. I think so, yeah. And this is also why laser weapons are also good, because they don't have ammo. So I should go back through, probably, and talk ammunition for all of these weapons. Hey, you right? How much a ton of ammo brings. I remember SRM's a ton of ammunition is 160 rounds. 1 ton of SRM ammo is 160 rounds, which is honestly, if you've only got a single SRM6, more than sufficient for your entire fight. That is, I mean, how many times can you fire it? That's 20, and then a further 120 is 20 times, so another 40 on top of that. It's like 100. It's like 28 times you can fire. Very true. Yeah. Then LRMs, each ton is 440 rounds. But if you're firing the LRM 20, you're firing a lot of missiles. I almost might want to scale that back, but I don't think I will yet. 1 ton of LRM ammo is 440 rounds. Pretty sure that's right. And again, I'm wanting to stay canonically accurate. Very true. Wow. Yeah. It's a lot. But I don't want them to be forced to give an awful lot of thought, like, oh, do I do another half ton of armor? Do I do another half ton of... Yeah. So the big one would actually be... ACs. Because they don't all take the same ammo. 1 ton of AC2 ammo is 45 rounds, as I recall. No, that's 54. 45. That's also 54. 45 rounds. Well, canonically, the LRM is a 600-meter range, but I've just been looking at comparisons to other weapons. And I've got it at 600 feet. Yeah, I'm just thinking for scale in the game. I mean, they're not going to be fighting stuff that's much more than 600 feet away, which is 20 squares on the board, which is a long way. That's the equivalent of... well, in 5 feet terms, that's 400 feet in D&D terms. So it's quite a long way. Is it? Yeah, it is. It's a long way. Yeah. So 1 ton of AC5 ammo is 30 rounds? Checking, and you said canonically, I totally agree. It's crazy for the battle map alone if you want 100% accuracy. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this isn't like, yeah, it wouldn't be canonically accurate in feet, but that's the ranges is more of a gameplay thing. I'm not too fussed on the cannon for things like that. 30 rounds. It's also not considering reload. Recharge. The small laser recharges faster than a large laser. Nah, I don't think that matters. We're not going to go into that because we are turn-based. And it's heat that's going to govern how much they can all fire all at once. AC-10 have... Oh, a single ton of ammo gets you 15. To the ton. And 20s, as I recall, gets 6. Let's say 8. 8 rounds to the ton. which means in 8 rounds of combat you can fire, but you won't be. You won't be firing it every round. You don't want to. Firstly, because it generates a lot of heat. Secondly, because it's really inaccurate to fire it multiple times. Don't get into that much detail. It'll bog down for action economy. Maybe to have a loading function for certain weapons to simplify. Yeah. I don't think I even need to do that. And as you say, because it'll get it all too complicated. Yeah, I think it's just, they can fire it every turn if they want to. The only guns that they wouldn't want to do that is the autocannons, which degrade accuracy if you continually fire them. And yeah, we're also limiting the amount of fire by the number of the amount of ammunition. You're like, if you're prepared to sacrifice 2 tons to carry 16 rounds of ammunition because you might need 9. I mean, I'm fine with half tons of ammo. So yeah, I think 20s get 8 rounds is fine. I think that's plenty. Because I just don't see them firing that many. Whereas a single ton, because ammo can like multiple. Yeah, 45 tons can supply multiple guns. Put notes on weapons that lose accuracy if fired constantly. Yeah. I mean, that's the autocannons, and it's there. Firing them on successive turns increases this further by 1 for each consecutive rounds this stacks. Instead of math, it's just a DM warning. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thank you, battery. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's all the guns figured out. And so now we know roughly how much damage things do. We should now look at, say, a basic mech chassis and figure out how many hit points each bit should have based on how much damage those can do, and then how much armor that would also grant you or require to balance out. There's a saying, nobody builds the quality of armor increases to you build a gun that is capable of destroying the best armor you can make. So it's from sci-fi. It's from a sci-fi series where they encounter aliens and they get an alien gun and they're like, right. No, you know where it's from. I know where it's from. It's from XCOM. Like you can work out how good an alien's technology is by working out how good their guns are. You can figure out how good their armor is, because you build a gun that is capable of breaking the best armor you know. It's sort of this logical leap, and I'm like, that's cool, I like that idea. So now we have to work out how good the armor has to be so that our guns can break it. So, locational damage, we're talking, yeah, that's that. That's cool. So, let's talk what is the quintessential medium mech? The Centurion. There's a T there, isn't it? Centurion. Mech. Practice Sashi. Practice chassis. Joshua. So we almost need a picture. Yeah. All right. So we have left arm. We have left torso. We have head. We have right torso. Ugh. Torso. And we have right arm. And then below that we have left leg and right leg. I almost want to carry that one over. There we go. And let's crank this down a few spots. So, how many hit points do we... Oh, we also need center torso, don't we? Do we? Center torso. Yeah. Let's plonk it there. Alright. It's messy, but it'll do. So, so my suggestion for an easy way to scale hit points for this: think of a weapon that one-shots each limb. Yeah, that's my thought too. Nice, all reliable. Yeah, yeah. The Centurion is a classic. It's a 50-ton medium mech. It's designed as a line warrior. It pairs very well with the trebuchet. It was designed to pair very well with the trebuchet. Standard armament on a Centurion is an AC-10, which is a fairly big gun. A pair of medium lasers in the torso. The right, I think it's the right arm, has the AC-10, and then there will also be a long-range missile rack, normally a 10, LRM-10, mounted on the left shoulder. And then the other arm is a close combat melee arm. And that is something else I need to work out. But I think melee would be based on weight, rather than the damage would be based on the amount of weight the mech doing it does. But we'll one thing at a time. So, yeah, for sure. So you don't want your left arm on a Centurion to be able to be blown off by a single shot from an AC-10. Say you're going to want to be able to take at least 2 hits from an AC-10. An AC-10 doing... let's remind ourselves, an AC-10 does 11 points of damage. But that's between armor and structure. So you would want to have a combination of the two. Off topic, before I forget, maths-wise, you should just do 1 damage point / 10 tons of mech for each melee damage. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think it's probably a good way of balancing it. Yeah, so a 100-ton Atlas does 10 points of damage when it hits you with its fist. Makes sense. Yeah, I think we'll actually pop that here. Melee damage. I think that's a very good suggestion. Range is only 30 feet, as in right next to you, obviously, and does 1 point of damage for every 10 tons rounding up that the mech weighs. So a 25-ton mech would do 3 points. 2 other mechs, I'm guessing. A single dude on the ground is going to get squished. Well, yes. Exactly. And it's easy to remember. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a good idea. Thank you very much for that suggestion. All right. So let's look at the Centurion. So where if we say structure and armor on each of those things. Structure and armor. Structure and armor. So we say, yeah, the center torso would be very well protected. I think this is going to be the hardest thing to balance. He does get a dex save, and probably yes, yes. It's like, you wore the brown pants. Sensible. So you don't want the left arm to be peeled off by a single shot. So let us say 6 points of structure and 6 points of armor. This was all very much subject to playtesting. And of even the AC-20. Yeah, but that's sort of the point of the AC-20. The AC-20 can one-shot limbs, but it's so heavy and it's so hard to hit with it that, you know, if you do hit with it, yeah, that whole thing is a bit fried. But that's the trade-off with the AC-20. That there won't be very many people wandering around with it, and it is the sort of thing you kill quickly or you stay out of the range of. I think that's the trick with the AC-20. It's a fearsome gun that you avoid, or you don't take very many hits from it. You really, really try not to. A single hit from an AC-20 ought to peel the arm off a small mech. Because I don't want these things to... maybe, alright. I still think it would take the arm off a... I mean, this is the thing. They're supposed to... You shoot something in the head, it dies. But hitting something in the head with an AC-20 is very, very hard. But we get a good idea of the maths of the center body armor, I feel like 2 or 3 shots. Yeah. Absolutely. So, because the AC-20 does 20 points of damage. I don't want it to be able to one-shot center mass anything. So, we say probably 15 armor points, 15 structure points, and 25 armor points in the center torso, which is where most scatter will go. And that's 40 points of structure and armor there. So that means the arms do need more. You're right. So let's say... I reckon 8 and... Oh, no. 8? No. 10. Because you don't want someone sniping your arm off. And then the torsos go to 12 and 12. The head would have... I reckon there is a -1 penalty for hitting a head directly. Like, deliberately. At least. Possibly dependent on the mech. Because an Atlas has, on its side profile, you can't hit the head. You just can't hit it. And if you're shooting things in the side, then only a certain number of things. So the scatter rules, we need to mod the scatter rules. Where were they? Yeah, here we go. 4 attacks to the side. Very few mechs actually have an exposed head. This would depend on the mech, as some mechs don't have exposed cockpits, and you can't normally see the center mass from the side. There's an arm and a left torso or right torso in the way, so you'd be rolling. It would be, if you're scattering, it'd be head maybe, and arm, torso, or leg. So it would be a roll of 1d4. 1 meaning arm, 2 being torso, and 3 to 4 being leg. Because legs are twice the... Legs tend to be about half of the total thing. I just don't think an unaimed shot should be able to hit the head from the side. You have to aim for the head from the side. Like scatters, they're just, the whole point, the design is to protect the pilot. So let's say a scatter shot just isn't going to hurt the head from the side. I'm happy with that. For DM's reference, and because I did this myself in the homebrew, make it a new paragraph for attacks to the side. Yeah, valid. So. Yeah. Receive scatter from the side on. Heads can't receive scatter. Side scatter? Well, let me do that. Yeah, there we go. Heads can't receive side scatter. That makes sense. And don't... Yeah, the page. And it didn't fit on the page. Yep. Yeah, just. I make it work. So, where were we? Wow, that... Yeah. Okay. So we're saying 12 on the left torso, which means that a straight shot from an AC-20 won't break your left torso. It'll break your left arm, but it won't break your left torso. It'll nearly break your left arm, unless it's already taken some damage, in which case it'll take it off. Also, damage radiates inwards. Excess damage... I don't know about that, actually. I think torso damage radiates inwards. But I don't think arm damage has to. Or leg damage. It's very much a specific location. Whereas torso damage, it's one big location. And the AC-20 will scare the crap out of someone on the left torso. Yeah. Arm is an arm. Yeah, okay. I think this would also go up there. Where we were talking about locational damage. I'm going to make it a new paragraph. Also, excess damage on a limb is discarded, as the limb either becomes useless or drops off. Torso damage, excess torso damage radiates inwards. Yeah. That good, much like. Yeah, an arm is an arm. I think then I want to crank that up. 12 and 15. Yeah. That's better. And then we say... the head, I think 10 structure points and 10 armor points. I think if you get shot in the head by an AC-20, you die. but it's really, really hard. And then we mirror them. So 15 and 12. No, that. 12 and 10 structure points. And then on the left leg, how hard should we make a leg to hurt? Definitely harder than an arm, but not as hard as a torso. No, let's say it's as hard as a torso. They are as important. Legs stronger. I don't think it's as hard as the center torso. I think it's as good as the left torso. So let's say maybe as much structure points as the torso, or as much armor as the torso, but more structure points. So 15 on each. In between. Yeah, that's where I've gone. Yeah. You want them to be able to take a bit of a beating. There you go. Cool. I think, because if you do the math, you add these up. So you've got structure points on the top line is 10, 12, 10, 10. 2 12s and 3 10s. So that's 54 points of structure. And then the rest of the mech is another 45. So that's the best part of 100 structure points on this mech. And then you add the armor, which is another 2 15s, 30, 50, 30, 40, 64. And then down here is another 30, 94, 119 armor points. 119 points of armor. And then, if we're going to make it 119, let's say 120 points of armor total. Put an extra point of armor on the head. Articulation and weapons will create areas of weakness. All looks nice. Yeah. So I think if we say 120 points of armor, because that is a nice round number, and then we say, let's look at how much weight now. So, standard practice, AC 10. So we have an AC 10 is... AC 10s weigh 12 tons. That's a little piece of note paper. 12 tons for the AC 10. Then it would have an LRM 10, which is... LRM 10s weigh 5 tons. 5 tons for the LRM 10. They would also have 2 medium lasers. I think. Might be 2. I'm going to say 2. I think 2 is a good number of medium lasers to have. Lasers, mediums were 1 ton each, so a pair of them, so 2 more. That's your guns. But if you add the point to the head, an AC 21 shot, headshot, 1 shot is gone. Yeah. But but you take a direct hit from an AC 20 to the head, you've got a single point of structure on your helmet left. You would eject, right? At that point, they're like, oh shit, if I take scatter damage from anything, I am fucked. Or if it's already taken any damage at all, like if someone has showered you with some long-range missiles that have all scattered all over the place, you've taken just a single point of damage to your head, an AC 20 would hit you. I think, yeah, it feels a bit cheesy to let them die from and this is just a 50-tonner. If a smaller mech was to take a headshot from an AC 20, yeah, it would kill it. Yeah, but this is it. You stand in front of them and you just scattergun them. I would probably be seriously considering my ejection options. Yeah. Or at least turning my back on my opponent and running the fuck away. And, like, in-game, they have front and rear armor. I am not applying that. I'm saying you have all over protection of this and this. But the head is only visible on most mechs from the front. There are some exceptions. The Centurion is one of them. The Centurion has an exposed head. I think it'd be all and end at... That'd be all and all at this point will be a practice session to playtest this puppy. Yeah! The be-all and end-all, yes. The be-all and end-all, absolutely. We're definitely going to have to test run this shit. So yeah, so we're looking at 19 tons of weaponry on this 50-ton mech. Half of which, well, the AC-10 and the LRM-5 both need ammo. I would probably only do a single ton of each. The LRM-10, 440 rounds is more than sufficient. So you give it a ton of ammo for the LRM-10, and for an AC-10, the weight of a ton of ammo is 15 rounds. That's plenty, right? I'd guess that's plenty. So a ton of ammo from that as well. Meaning, it's 15, 21 tons now for our guns and our ammo. That's heaps, yeah. So we also need to work out, I mean, before we go calculating anything else, we need heat sinks, but then we need to work out our heat mechanics. So I think I'm going to call it for the night, because I've been going for about 3 hours now. Guys, it's been an absolute genuine pleasure. Salt and Buttery, you bloody champion, you've been extremely helpful. I think we've made some seriously good progress. Next week, heat mechanics. I'm getting a little brain lag now. So yeah, this has been really interesting and fun though. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me for my homebrewing session. I have been Josh the Pirate. Hums 16 tons while placing stone. It's been a pleasure having you all here. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been Josh the Pirate. This is my channel, Corsair's Cove, which I run with my lady wife. But you know that because you've come and you've joined me already. Continue doing that. It's been great having all of you. Dread, thank you so much for the raid. If you've enjoyed my face and voice, you can find me on Monday nights where I run Humblewood games here. And sometimes also it's like alternating Humblewood Mondays and Thursdays. Currently the Thursday night crew is off, but the Monday night crew is on. I will be back on Thursday night for more Mano a Mano with Karen. We will be back starting up our 1v1 campaign again and seeing what Beryl is going to get up to this time, and it's going to be me in the DM seat for a change. It's Karen's turn to have a break and just be the player. Then I'll be over on Ardana's channel on Friday night for more in-between shenanigans. See if we can nope this fight with the hag. I don't think we're going to manage it. But we do have a party of kobold meat shields now, so that's going to be nice. And then finally I will be on the Eldritch Gripe on Sunday night for more Into Osiris. And I'm also going to be recording There Be Dragons on Sunday afternoon as well. So lots of D&D for me this week. Yeah, if you enjoyed my voice but you think I could stand to turn the face down a bit, you can check out me on the podcast There Be Dragons, where I play the infamous and deadly pirate Skern Felspar and his little dragon Hrosh. Adam Pudliner, thank you very much for the follow as well, you bloody champions. We have here all the socials. You can check us out there. We have the Discord. If you want to join us and catch up with us and throw more ideas about homebrewing at me. And we have the Book of You. No, not that we have the Book of Face. It's on our socials, but we also have the Tube of You. If you want to... Ardana link? Twitch.tv/Ardana. That. Or I could just do this. Yes, super fun. Salt and Buttery, if you do fancy it, we are on, I think it's 6 p.m. AWST or math hard, other time zones. But yeah, I think it's 6 p.m. AWST. It is a super lovely game. Terrace is a fellow Aussie. Ardana is a lovely Swedish person, and the three of us get up to shenanigans. It's really, really fun. I do endorse. Yeah, 12 noon Central European time. There you go. What else do I need to talk about? One more final thing. Ukraine. The Ukrainian people are having a bit of a rough... as we've moved to Mondays. Fair enough. Well, you can always check out the VODs, mate. The Ukrainian people are having a bit of a rough time of it, as I'm sure you're aware. Yeah, it's rough over there. So, the Emergency Action Appeal is the charity we've decided to just sort of throw our support insofar as we can behind. It's a group of Australian charities and not-for-profits that are trying to assist with that. At 6 a.m. EST. Oh, I don't think it is. Oh, no, it is for American, sorry. Eastern States Time, yes. Australian Eastern States Time, it's 9 p.m. Either 8 or 9. I can't remember if we're in daylight savings or not. This is the thing, WA doesn't do daylight savings, which I like. Get up early if you're going to milk a damn cows. ADT cartography, yeah, if you're in the States, like, we can't please everybody, unfortunately. But yes, if you have any spare pennies in your digital wallets, please consider throwing no daylight savings until October. Oh, okay. I know Australia is big, but not 12 hours big. Yes. It's currently 2-hour difference. Yeah, all right then. So yeah, it's currently 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern States Time, Australian Eastern States Time, 6 a.m. American Eastern States Time. Time zones are hard. Yes, so if you have any spare pennies in your digital wallet, please consider donating to the Emergency Action Appeal to help the 11 million plus Ukrainians who have fled the violence in their nation and gone to other countries and are now refugees, which sucks. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, I hope to see you guys either Thursday night here on Corsair's Cove at 7 p.m. AWST or... on Ardana's channel at 6 p.m. AWST for more D&D. Guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna raid now. We've got a raid. Who should we raid? Well, Winter's Tales is doing some world building in preparation for their new craziness, their live filmed in WA game that they're going to be doing, so I think we'll drop a raid on AJ. That sounds like a nice thing to do. Very neighbourly of us. So, and AJ is an original member of the Humblewood game from Monday nights. So, let's do that. Yes, I will go away, we'll run a quick ad, and then we will raid AJ Winters. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me. And he did all the maths after 3 hours of mech maths with dyslexia people. Round of applause, please. Thank you, Salt and Buttery. Alrighty, guys. Well, I'll go away from here now. It's been an absolute, genuine pleasure. Take care of yourselves, love your faces, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye!